Ladies, gentlemen, hello and welcome to Female.exe. This game can only be described as OG Resident Evil 2. However, since I never played that game, I will describe it as thusly. It is a 3D point-and-click adventure with a combat minigame. Now if you're like me, and your preferred breakfast is gothic horror aesthetics, then pay no attention to the rest of the video. Play the game, you'd like it. But for the rest of you who care about the gameplay, the philosophy, the deep meanings and all that, the game is fun. What else do you want? This game, like all good horrors, is a perfect example of curiosity killed the cat. Our protagonist receives a mail containing a photo of two little girls, and since because of that photo she has now schizophrenia, she decides to investigate, and like all good horrors, she gets bunked in the head, kidnapped, possibly violated, harvested, and about to be experimented or already experimented on. It is unclear if the blood transfusion would recreate the symptoms at their latest stage which would cause death. When she finally wakes up, she finds herself hooked up to life support and missing an eye. And to be honest, that eye socket really looks clean. And I don't just mean the lack of blood even on the bandage. I mean, I've seen what an empty eye socket looks like, and that motherfucker who did this was a real professional, not even a single wrong cut. There are two facts about this game that I learned the hard way. There is no autosave, and you must avoid the dark at all costs. Which makes your best friend a lighter with seemingly, and thanks God for that, unlimited fuel. But there is another catch. While equipped with the lighter, you are unable to handle any weapons. But at some point you do get a chest-mounted flashlight, which is actually necessary for access to some areas. Saving in this game is a rare privilege. You need tape records to save your progress, but tape records are a relatively scarce resource, which makes for some really fun and tense sequences, although dying can and often is frustrating. Tormented Souls has two sides: puzzle solving and combat. The combat, while maybe real time, really plays that like a turn-based. And since you don't have that many or that much complicated options, its real challenge isn't in doing it perfectly, but in managing your resources. And take it from me, you better not kill what you don't have to. Because I did that, and by the end of the game, I had to avoid some things I really wasn't supposed to pretty perfectly to save some ammo for a boss fight. And when it comes to puzzles, the devs really did a great job. None of them are neither too easy nor too hard to be boring or frustrating. Except for the monkeys. Fuck that one. That said, other than the monkeys, I did have to Google some answers, but mostly because of my own stupidity, although I don't regret any of them, because after seeing the answers, I was sure I would never thought of them on my own. The answers I had to Google include
monkey.
How to unlock writing on the floppy disk. I'm too young for this shit. The Jesus clock, the correct beats for the vinyl puzzle. What to put in the mold. And the TV puzzle. Although most of the horror atmosphere in this game comes from its visual design and creative camera angles, it, like all good horrors, has some spooky moments, and they range from pretty spooky to lame jump scares. My favorite is at some point you descend into a catacomb, and you can see the feet of the corpses sticking out of their tombs. When you shine light on them, they slowly inch away into their holes, while a sound reminiscent of insects walking can be heard. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have this specific scream and version cryptic behavior. On a side note, the game takes place in a mansion-turned hospital that is now about to be abandoned, but it really doesn't look like a hospital. Not that I'm complaining, it just feels weird, in a good way. Also, this game is set in Canada, and so as a result, due to a severe lack of freedom, all your weapons are makeshift. The nail gun pistol, the pipe-made shotgun, the electric shank, and last than least, the crowbar. Also, Mildly Uncomfortable Spirits has its own version of Mr. X. It is a ghost haunting the hallways, and it's unkillable. Believe me, I tried. But you don't have to kill it. Its stagger animation is pretty generous, and it disappears when you enter a room. And that, coupled with the fact that it spawns randomly, means when you enter a room and you hear its spooky theme song, you can just go back where you came from, and when you come out, it's gone. As is traditional for all point-and-click adventures, most of your progress comes from getting from point A to point B and unlocking new areas. And though this game might have a relatively small map, its layout is very fun. And in fact, despite not playing any of them, I can safely assure you it has a better, more engaging, and overall fun map than any Metroid or Castlevania games. Now as for the story, it's like Dark Souls. You need to read to understand it. And it's not like you have a choice. You need to read the documents for some of the puzzles. But it's more like a forced fortune. I genuinely did enjoy piecing together this story, so I won't spoil too much. But I will talk about some plot points. Right after waking up, our protagonist meets an old man with a huge, absolutely massive cross on his neck. And he tells her they met before, despite the obvious fact. But later on you travel through time using a VHS tape. Don't worry about it, this is just one of many weird unexplained shit that happens. And after that, you end up meeting this old man at an earlier time, which indicates this is a type 4 time travel, which means what you do in the past doesn't change nothing, and in fact always had been the case. But in the same VHS tape, you have to put something in the freezer and come back in the future when it has been frozen. But that introduces a problem, since when you first find the freezer, it is empty, and only when you put in the object in the past you can get it in the future, which would make this a type 1 time travel. Also, this game is canonically set in either Yugi or Persona universe. You can walk through mirrors and go, depending on your interpretation, into either Shadow Realm or Shadow World. Also later in the game, you find a document written by a maintenance staff, which explains a puzzle. The problem with it is that you find the document in a place which is supposed to be very hidden from normal everyday people. Also at the end of the game, this happens. And the problem here is that he shouldn't have died, because that is the wrong way to do it. Now I'm not gonna tell you what is the right way, since I think I know why they made him do it the wrong way, but just know that ain't the way. Also, there are 2 rooms in this game where someone was living in the sewers, but only one person ever did that, and she didn't move rooms. Now that might not be much of a problem by its own, but each of the rooms fills half of the description in the journal. One has a TV, food and water, the other has a mirror and is in the place it's supposed to be. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Goodbye.